I'm talking, of course, about the nation of Canada. No matter what's going on, war in Iran, stock market collapse, airplanes crashing, the people of Canada remain laser focused on beclowning themselves for our amusement. It is their purpose in life. Long after Canada officially becomes a colony of India and literally no Canadians have a job or the capacity to feed themselves, they'll spend their last dying breaths finding ways to entertain us. You should be grateful for that. And as if to prove my point, the big story in Canada this week, I won't even do the whole intro. I'll let one of Canada's many fake news outlets take the reins from here.
Is today an incredible day or what?
Woo!
The story of this street name change is both a practical one of day-to-day urban living and an emotional turning point for the Musqueam Nation.
Our ancestors were forced to speak English. They were forced to do away with our language. And if we're walking reconciliation, we walk together.
The street formerly known as Trutch had been named after BC's first lieutenant governor, whose views and policies about First Nations people are now recognized as racist and wrong.
So they have some obese guy in feathers and face paint dancing in a suburban neighborhood as the mayor says this is an incredible day. And he does a little woo to really get the crowd going. And then we learn, thanks to another obese guy in feathers, whose name is Chief Wayne, which is pretty funny all by itself, that the Musqueam people are mad that they were forced to speak English. And to that end, they're getting rid of a street sign named after a civil engineer named Joseph Trutch. And according to the Canadian news anchor, who speaks in the most patronizing tone imaginable, Joseph Trutch is a very mean and racist man. So it's good to get rid of this random street sign. And before we go any further here, a couple of points need to be made right off the bat. First of all, Joseph Trutch contributed more to British Columbia than any of these overweight men wearing costumes or their ancestors ever did. He was the civil engineer behind the creation of the old Alexandra suspension bridge, which is one of the main reasons British Columbia grew into a viable province. It became a lot easier to move gold in and out of British Columbia and later on automobiles because of that bridge. And then Trutch became BC's chief commissioner of land and works. And in that capacity, he didn't allow the primitive tribes to continue wasting the potential of all this land. And therefore, now they're vilifying him. Secondly, the idea that the white man is the reason that Musqueam people never had street signs in their language is absurd. They never had street signs in their language because they never had streets or signs or a written language. Men like Joseph Trutch came in and brought all of that. They brought language and civilization and commerce to what is now British Columbia. But instead of celebrating Joseph Trutch, they're now slandering him and taking down his street sign. And here's what they're replacing it with. Get ready for this.
Every symbol has a sound, and they're all sounded out.
Well, the English translation is Musqueam View. The new legal name of the street is written in characters from the North American phonetic alphabet, a system developed by linguists to express words from First Nation languages. Here's Mayor Sim having a go at it.
Today, we officially renamed Trutch Street to Shmuckwam Awesome Street.
Shmuckwam Awesome Street, I believe is what he said. He was either pronouncing the street name or he was sneezing. I'm not really sure. It's impossible to tell. Now, one thing I will say is if you use that word in Scrabble and hit a triple word score, it would be worth 85,000 points. That's the good news. The other big good news is that some of the best deadpan comedians in the world live in Canada. They just don't realize it. They are absolutely, completely, 100% sincere when they say that it's progress to replace a normal street sign with one that is incomprehensible. I mean, you might think that human progress means colonizing Mars or developing self-driving cars or, curing diseases or something like that. But in Canada, progress means something very different. It means making it impossible to order pizza to your house because nobody knows what the hell the street sign says. That's progress in Canada. And never mind pizzas, what happens when somebody calls 911? And the funniest thing about this whole situation, of course, is that the sign isn't actually written in the language of the primitive tribe because they didn't have a written language. Instead, as you heard, it's written in some kind of fake language invented by academics who are attempting to transfer the primitive language of the Musqueam people into written English, which is why it looks like a Wi-Fi password. A very strong Wi-Fi password, but a Wi-Fi password nonetheless.